Welcome to another day of 31 Days of Horror. I'm your host, Stephen Bloodworth, filmmaker and indie critic. Thank you all for coming by. As stated in this year's 31 Days of Horror, the 1970s brought about some amazing made-for-TV horror films. Trilogy of Terror from 1975 is another prime example. The three films included in this anthology all star actress Karen Black. This is something I found very interesting upon my first time screening the film. Typically, what I'm used to is seeing an anthology include different segments, and those segments usually including different actors and actresses. But for Trilogy of Terror, Karen Black is featured and starred in all three segments. The first installment in the trilogy is titled Julie, about a shy college professor, played by Karen Black, teaching at a university. One of Julie's students, named Chad, explains to his friend how he wants to live these weird fantasies with a professor at the college. Chad decides to turn his dream into a reality by asking Julie out on a date. Chad asks Julie to go to a movie with him at the drive-in, and Julie agrees. While at the drive-in, Chad slips something into Julie's drink, and eventually Julie succumbs to the drug, and Chad decides to have her way with her at a local motel. Understanding what had happened, Julie tries to break off the relationship with Chad, but Chad decides to blackmail her if she goes any further. I'm not going to spoil the end, but it is an insane twist. The second story, Millicent and Therese, is your typical sibling rivalry. The two sisters, Millicent and Therese, are polar opposites from one another. Millicent is your typical good girl, and Therese is your evil black sheep of the family. Millicent tries to convince the family doctor that Therese is simply pure evil, and when the doctor goes to check on Therese, she is exactly that. Pure evil. Fed up with Therese, Millicent devises a plan to get back at Therese. This goes to an extreme level where Millicent decides the only way to solve the problem is to kill her sister. So Millicent performs a voodoo ritual and ends up killing Therese. Again, it's another twist ending, pretty good twist ending, but after hearing my review of it, you probably know what happens. The third story, Amelia, is probably the most famous out of Trilogy of Terror. Amelia has just moved into her own apartment, and after one day of shopping, she comes home and explains to her mother on the phone that she has bought an African fetish doll for her boyfriend who enjoys African artifacts. She explains to her mother about the doll and explains that there is a live spirit inside of the doll, but it's trapped in there from a gold chain, and nothing will happen unless the gold chain is taken off of the doll. It's really no surprise, the gold chain falls off the doll and the doll starts terrorizing Amelia. All three stories are very different from one another, and as you watch, each story keeps getting better and better. Trilogy of Terror has become a cult favorite amongst horror fans. In 1996, there was a sequel to Trilogy of Terror starring Lysette Anthony. If you like anthologies and you like crazy killer African dolls, this one is just for you. Well, we're moving along quickly with 31 Days of Horror, but don't worry, there's still a whole month of October ahead of us.